Welcome back to Milton Mo Junction. I'm continuing on with the scenery on this side, and I'll just quickly do a little bit and show you how I actually do it myself. This is not an instructional video in any way, it's just pretty much showing you how I do my scenery. And it's, I don't know, it's sort of, I just do it as I feel fit, really. It's not a particular art, it's just what I feel comfortable with, and you can always come back and change things. So I'm just going to do this little area here, and basically what I do is I cover the whole area with neat PVA and just spread it out. I mean, the beauty of this, you don't have to be too specific, because obviously any things you do wrong you can always cover it up at the end of the day, either more gravel, ballast, or more greenery. The way I'm thinking here is that the greenery is going to run out as solid greenery, and the ballast will go further up, and I'll just add greenery and growth to the actual ballast. Now I'm using pretty much all woodland scenics, and I usually start off with coarse turf. Now what I've found over the years, or over the course of me doing this, is that woodland scenics do a lot of different shades of each of their products, coarse turf and underbush and bushes. And this is just a personal preference. I actually prefer the sort of darker colours, the olive greens, the light greens, rather than the mid and dark greens, which seem to be a little bit too bright for my personal taste. I mean, as I say, you can add those on, but I don't like using too much of them. Now this is burnt grass. This is coarse turf burnt grass. Now obviously at the beginning it just looks a bit slapdash. I think this is one of the first videos I've actually done a running commentary of how I've done something. It's not my usual method of doing it. This is now the same coarse turf, but with a lighter, a light green colour. So it's pretty much I have actually missed out a sort of layer that is possible, that I used to do a lot of with my 00 gauge, and that is the fine turf. But to be perfectly honest, I don't think you really need it when you're just trying to do foliage that's not going to be walked on. It's purely just foliage. I mean, I have used the fine turf here. I'm not sure if you can see, I'm trying to do this without moving the camera, but obviously I don't think that came out. But between the rails where I've done the pathways on my earlier video, I actually did use the finer turf, because that's more mud and earth, where this is purely going to be foliage, and the colour of the foam underneath is green anyway, so I don't actually need the soil underneath, hopefully. As I say, this is all a bit oh, it looks a bit slapdash. Works for me. I'll work on the premises to see if I can get everything covered up on this first little episode of growth. Get all the white covered up, the white of the glue that is. And at this stage it's purely fine turf with two colours. I'm patting it all down. All this can be hoovered up, there's not a problem once it's finished. All this overspill. So that is all pretty much patted down, and obviously you can still see a few bits of white below it, but I shouldn't worry too much about that. The glue is all getting absorbed into it. The next process is to damp it down a bit with a spray of very fine spray of water and washing up liquid. And the idea of that is that hopefully helps it soak the glue that's already there, will soak up through it. It also means that when I add more, the glue will have something to stick to. Right, next stage is really how I feel, what I want to do with the next, which is underbush, the next grade up. And again, you can do it as you like. Very, very easy, I find this. And it comes out reasonably effective, I think. I'm not trying to make this too high, but obviously this is O gauge, I keep saying, and I would have done the same thing with OO, but all the time you don't have anyone walking through it, it doesn't make a lot of difference, to be perfectly honest. but what it does mean, of course, is that if you had a person, a little model figure in it, this would be a lot longer bushes, grass, whatever you want to call it. This is now underbush light green. And as I say, there's no right or wrong way of doing this, I don't think. I just mix and match colours until I'm quite happy with it. What I'm trying to sort of establish here is it's a siding. There's no real need for this to be anything other than foliage, because it's right beside a sort of branch line heading towards the diesel depot and a goods shed, and other than that there'll be no need for anyone to be walking along here. So what I do is I get it something like I want it. Again, spray it with a mixture of water and washing up liquid. Just a little drop of washing up liquid helps the water sink through the foliage, I think. So it does it with ballast, so I assume the same sort of thing might work with this. Now you've got a couple of choices now. One is to spray a mixture of cynic cement. Crikey, everyone's a critic. Even my camera turned off, and I hadn't realised. So what I was saying, you have a choice at this stage of either using cynic cement, woodland scenics, which you spray on, or you can use a mixture of, I use a 50% mixture of PVA and water mixed with a little bit of washing up liquid. Same as for the ballast, to be perfectly honest, and I dribble it on. Obviously you've missed that because the camera turned off, but you know, you just sort of wet the whole thing with it. And I can spray it again with the water mix, and just, you know, so the whole thing soaks in, so you didn't miss too much. I'm trying to keep this pretty low. Obviously you can use other materials as well. If I wanted to put a bush right in the middle or a higher bit, you can use the Woodland Scenics bushes, which is the same material I think, but just bigger chunks of it. Again, they come in different colours, and I use, as I mentioned before, primarily light green and olive green, and this just raises it up. I attach it exactly the same way with water spray, so it gets a nice soak in. More in this case because the spray is not working properly. And a few drops of PVA to set it. Anything that hasn't set when it's all dried, you can retouch up. Obviously this changes the effect a little bit because it, as you can see, it makes it a lot lighter and in some case whiter while the glue dries. Other materials I use, certainly on this sort of layout. If I wanted it higher, I've used wild bushes, which you saw in earlier ones, to raise it up. Static grass, and I pretty much plod on like this really. As I said at the beginning, it's not an instructional video, just showing you how I did it. Someone mentioned, and I'm really sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head but who it was, but one of the comments in one of the videos, someone said, would you show them how you actually did it? So that's about it. I've waffled on a bit, so I think pretty much that's all there is time for in this video, otherwise you're going to get really bored. But I'll just quickly show you what's left to do. Hang on a sec. As I mentioned earlier, I'll probably continue on a little teeny bit more. Well, no, probably what I'll do now is ballast completely in between the track there, and then add a little bit of foliage on top of the ballast. And obviously the track needs ballasting up there as well. So my next job will probably be ballasting the track and that bit between the tracks, and covering that with some gradually easing out the foliage and more ballast showing through. And that'll be it pretty much for this video, and I'll try and get another one up fairly quickly because I want to proceed, although I'm away again next week. Another little trip to see some friends, but yeah, I'll come back as soon as I can. So all I've got now is bye for now, and thanks for watching. Bye.